welcome to another episode of Discovering 615. I'm your host, Rob Thacker, and I'm here with my good friends, Maggie and Zach White.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
These two extremely talented musicians here in Nashville. Guys, thanks for having me to your house.
Yeah.
You spoiled us because we didn't have to go anywhere.
Right. We had lunch literally 3 minutes before you walked in.
Okay. And lunch was what now?
A tomato sandwich with watermelon side, which I know some people that go like, that sounds terrible, but if you're eating locally and fresh produce, like there's a guy right down the street who's 81 and he grows all these vegetables in his yard, and he's got a place out in Watertown. So he was telling me, he was all proud of it. He said, I went to Kroger's the other day and I got a tomato because it tasted like cardboard. I mean, credit where credit's due. It was a delicious
It was
sandwich.
a fantastic
I love
tomato.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Eating locally in season is one of the best delicacies ever, and it's hard to add anything to supplement that. Yeah.
Nothing like a good old homegrown. I'll get it out.
Yeah. Try again.
Yeah. Homegrown tomatoes. Oh my gosh, yeah. So let's talk a little bit about you guys are in the music industry.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about how you guys got to Nashville.
Yeah.
Okay. So I am from Kentucky, Hopkinsville, Kentucky, and so I didn't move very far. So I just rolled down here.
Exactly.
But
roll out of bed into Nashville.
Exactly. I just woke up here. I actually grew up taking a lot of lessons here in Nashville. So I played fiddle, and me and my mom would drive down for different lessons, and I'd go to Buddy Spiker, who was a great swing jazz player, and I'd go to Christian Teal, who's a fantastic classical musician. And then when it came time for school, went to Belmont, and that's where Zach and I met. And then
I grew up in St. Louis mostly, kind of all over the Midwest. Was born in Chicago, lived in Arkansas for a few years, but St. Louis was really the formative years, and I loved bluegrass music and Irish music, and kind of decided Nashville's like one of the only places you can come to possibly do that for a living. So I moved down there. We met in the bluegrass ensemble, which we like to say is a match made in Nashville. And it was the best decision I could have ever made.
And we know each other, and so Zach, there's a thing that you like to talk about.
Yeah.
Because you guys are involved with the Gettys. That's Irish background, but then you do bluegrass.
Yeah.
So there's a thing that you like to converse about in terms of the difference between, was it bluegrass and Irish music?
It's a bit we would do from stage. I actually borrowed it from a writer who I need to get her name, but she had written it in some article. But it was, a lot of people don't know that bluegrass music comes originally from Ireland. You had Irish immigrants that settled into the mountains in the Appalachian area because it looks just like Scotland up there. So they brought their tunes, and over time the songs shift and become, you get bluegrass music that's really kind of starts in the 50s, but for generations before it was Irish music. So they share a lot of the same material, and it can be hard to know which one is which. So we have a key for people who are curious about being able to organize the songs correctly, which is Irish songs are about food, drink, and struggle, and bluegrass songs are about God, mom, and the girl that done you wrong. So if the girl in the song, if she's not dead by the third verse, it's not bluegrass music. She's got to die third verse, or else, it's just a folk tune. Nobody wants that. But if everybody in the song dies, if you have that kind of tragedy, then it's Irish music.
That's good to know. I'll have to make sure I remember that.
That's it. Now your CDs can go in correct boxes.
Yes, exactly. Now I can check those correct boxes all. Exactly. So how did you guys talk a little bit about? Because I know you guys are with the Gettys. I know you guys have not started the tour yet.
Right.
It starts. I think you said earlier we're talking in September. How did that all unfold?
Yeah, I met Keith. Actually, both of us met Keith through Jeff Taylor, my accordion player here in town.
Right.
And
it's always the accordion player.
It is bringing people together.
Right.
And so I met Keith I guess it was the year before I finished college. And so sorry, I should stop that. The dishwasher started up. I didn't know it.
Real life continues.
I'll start from that question.
Okay, there we go.
Sorry. I was just like, what was that?
We would just leave that in there, that live version.
Why not?
Exactly. Okay.
People can deal with it.
Exactly. Where was I? Okay, so I met Keith through a mutual friend, an accordion player here in Nashville, and Jeff Taylor. And it was probably about a year later that they needed a fiddle player to fill in for their fiddle player who was expecting her second child. And then whenever their fiddle player came back, they kept both of us, so they've got 2 fiddles.
Yeah.
And then about a year later is when Zach joined. So now it's 10 years later.
Yeah, exactly. They had a guitarist who decided he wanted to focus more being homework, or not homework, but like work at home.
Okay.
And so there was a spot open, and I just exercised all the nepotism I could to get in. And, it was a really wonderful fit. We loved playing for them. It's kind of neither of us moved to town to play in a Christian band. We were trying to play in more folk style stuff.
Right.
Bluegrass and Irish music was the goal, or jazz music. But so be it, God designed that there would be this person here in Nashville that, lo and behold, wanted folk musicians in his band and really loved to exercise and stuff. On top of having a mission we love, trying to create better songs for churches to sing that are focused on congregational singing, encouraging that kind of a thing. Loved old music and classical music that we both grew up playing a lot. And it was just kind of such a providential design that it would be, that's where we're supposed to be. And the timing all worked out with people leaving and needing fill-ins. It's really one of those things that there's a great line from a writer here in town. He said, "I walk a crooked road to get where I'm going, and only when I'm looking back do I see the straight and narrow." And it's like, oh yeah, that's what that was. And so it's fun.
That's great. And you guys have had some opportunities to travel with the Gettys.
A little bit.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit. So what are some of the most memorable places? Because you guys have, it's been not just in the States, it's been worldwide.
Right.
So
they use the term name drop if you use big names. I guess this is building drop.
Building drop.
It sounds bad, but it's like with the Keith loves to play big, memorable locations. He has a very classical orchestra background, so he's always had these dreams of playing. So we've played Carnegie Hall almost 10 years in a row, and last year we got to play the Sydney Opera House. We played Kennedy Center and all these cool locations, which are real memorable. You were bringing up one that we forget about from time to time, but probably is the more unique location to have played.
Parliament?
Yeah, well, Westminster, it's not Abbey, they call it something else, but it's literally across the street, but it's where Parliament meets.
Yeah. So we got to play their National Prayer Breakfast.
Oh, wow.
And so that was really cool. And then they also have this little tiny chapel underneath that you just you don't even know that it's there.
Yeah.
And so you just kind of go through this little tiny staircase. I don't know if it's even open normally.
Yeah.
As far as for the tours and all that kind of stuff. And so it's like, what in the world am I in? And it's just
the catacombs of Parliament.
Yeah, exactly. And so some of these places are just like, how did I get there?
Yeah.
And then, and I still don't know how I got there, but then, so there's been places like that, and then Mussenden Temple is another really cool location that we got
right
to
on the
do
north tip of Ireland. This little old library that you feel like a strong gust of wind, and you might end up in the sea. But it's just you can see that one. We recorded a music video there with them. My Worth is not in what I own, and it's the 2 Gettys and 2 of us in this little circular building, and it's gorgeous. Yeah.
That's amazing. So transitioning then from the Gettys for you guys, I mean, talk about a little bit about your concept in terms of just the inspirations that you guys. I mean, you've got the elephant in the room.
Oh, for our show,
for your show, for elephant in the room. You've got Double Grave. You've got Answers in My Pocket. The humor, and then you've got Northbound 205, which is a new release of that. Talk a little bit about those concepts. Where do they come from? What's the inspiration behind that?
See, the elephant in the room you got from just seeing a track title.
It was.
And then you just kind of ran with it.
It was kind of you're looking for songs to write, and a lot of songs are written on. They take a colloquialism and kind of shift it into a bigger story, or an ironic story, something. So I was looking for that and saw a track that had this title "Elephant." Humor has always been an element of our show, and it's kind of your brain jumps a little fast to go, oh, elephant in the room. I wonder how the elephant felt at the moment it got called the elephant in the room. You just make up a story. So then it got played out. But yeah, the whole show is a general. We both had dreams for years of running our own shows, but we've been this wonderful career as session musicians, but we never really worked up stuff together.
Right.
We were like musical co-workers rather than spouses. And we started this whole Instagram weekly thing just to get us to practice some songs together. Because every once in a while we'd be at a party or an event and they're like, could you guys just do something? And we're like, we don't have anything worked up. Yeah. And eventually we started going, oh, this works. I had always written songs as a fun practice, something I've loved since I was in high school. And eventually we were like, well, let's try some of these originals. And it started to work. And then it helped form the overall picture of the show as being something.
Also too, our first EP that we did in 2019, we did kind of a combination of like original and then some covers. And we realized that the stuff that people resonated with the most was the stuff we enjoyed putting out the most. So the
originals,
the originals and the little bit more humorous, that was the kind of thing that felt better, and it also felt more natural to our personality, which was kind of fun because it kind of gives you that permission to like, go ahead and dive into that. You know?
It felt weird because I hadn't really. I always grew up with music like Randy Newman and Roger Miller, and Tom Waits. I love picture songs and short stories that had characters. But especially those guys were really good at, they'd put songs right next to each other that were, especially Randy Newman, that were like really silly and humorous, but then really meaningful and serious. And I've always thought that replicated a conversation so much better than the way a lot of albums go, where it's like one emotion all the way through, just hitting it from every angle. But these story songs, it's kind of, when I see a friend, a quick hello introduction, we might have some jokes, we might have some fun anecdotes, but then if the conversation goes long enough, we'll hear some fun, serious stuff. So I thought, well, we could do that in our show where it's blend these songs. So that song, Answers in My Pocket, is what you've mentioned before, where it's kind of about the idea of cell phones, give us this sense that we have answers all the time, immediately. And that's silly when you draw attention to it, but we do act that way very regularly. And I think you can see a lot of times people are so quick to jump on, iffy truths to because they're not used to just living with, I don't know the answer to something. So that song was trying to take a humorous approach musically and lyrically, and kind of blowing up this character as somebody who's proud of the fact that I have answers all the time, and like owning that side and realizing, oh, it's pretty ridiculous. And because I do it myself, there's a line in there where it says actually is my favorite word, because I've heard myself and I hate it about myself. I'll go, well, actually the answer is blah, 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 blah. And then I go, why did I do that? So I said, well, let's personify that guy. But it's been nice. People have responded pretty well to this kind of blend of humor and whatnot. They have trouble locating it on a genre spectrum.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, good music's good music. So.
Well, and then you guys got Double Gray, which has a dark humor to it. I remember, seeing that video, and you were in all black, and but then the irony of it.
Yes. It's inflating our worst attributes helps us laugh at ourselves. Yeah. So it's that one of boredom, especially with your spouse, or slight annoyances with your spouse. Is something we all experience for those who are married. And I thought, well, what if you couch that annoyance in the ultimate of tragedies, in death? So the skeleton just sitting in the grave going like, all right, honey, you gonna die soon? I'm bored down here. Really helps go like, patience is a virtue. Slow down, we'll enjoy it. And then we went that a step further with the touchy subject in the video.
Oh yeah, in the video there's a little hidden surprise.
Yeah, of going like, well, what if she remarries?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And there's the end of that one.
Yeah.
She remarries, and where does she end up?
Yeah, exactly. You have to check it out, Double Gray.
Check it out, Double Gray. That's right. We won't spoil the end for that. And then you guys got Caesar said to Brutus, which is I saw that and I thought, oh, hey, it's Paul Simon and Jerry Chase, but wait a minute, there's something different here,
Exactly. So we actually went up to my folks' place in Kentucky, and they have this hangar type building, and so we built the set. It was a lot of work. It was probably, I wouldn't advise it, but we did it, and I'm glad we did. But we basically inverted the You Can Call Me Al video. So theirs was like the pink room, and so we decided, well, we're going to wear pink, and then we're going to paint the room green, and that kind of took on the colors of our album there. And so it was a lot of fun to do. We thought we'd get it done in like 3 days, but we ended up taking another trip up there.
Yeah.
We had that awkward extra summer that kind of sprung up
Oh,
in
yeah.
September, so we thought it'd be cool, but it was like 90 degrees. So it's like we cannot wear pink in this weather.
Yeah. In an air conditioned hangar. Yeah.
And so we ended up waiting to do the actual filming part of it, but we got all the set built and had a blast making it.
It's fun. Yeah, the song itself is it was after a trip we took to Africa and has some it's least literal story. It's more metaphorical in a lot of its stuff, but it's silly still, and the silliness and the sound of it, definitely everyone goes like, oh, it sounds like it's on the Graceland record. So we thought, let's just lean into it, make the music video match. So
absolutely. And then Family Tree, of course.
Yes.
That's just
that's as Nashville of a song as you can get.
And it's actually the only scrapbook we have. Is that one that we made for the video.
That's right.
I want to start
That's
just
hilarious.
leaving it sitting out, like if people come over, and I want to see them leaf through it, and then.
Oh, for those listening, the song
yeah.
the song was based on our first trip over to Ireland with the Gettys. I knew that I had Irish ancestry somewhere, and I asked my sister-in-law if she had done her genealogical line, because my family hadn't, because they're all Texan and they only keep track of Texas history, but as Texans do. But she had looked into it, and she had the whole line from Ireland over, and it was kind of fun to see folks going from North Carolina and eventually ending up in Texas. But there was a stop off for about 3 generations just north of here, right where Maggie's family's all from. So I said, honey, how about we don't look too close at that family tree? And then went, that's a song. Yeah. It's a silly.
That's too funny.
Yeah. The funny bit, so we had this cookbook that we paired tracks with the songs on the album, and then we included 3 of the singles, like Northbound, you mentioned, or Family Tree. Yeah. And the recipe we paired with Family Tree, we just thought, oh, this sounds like a hit recipe. But it was something she grew up with called...
It's called bologna and white sauce.
Bologna and white sauce.
It is
okay.
so good.
Okay.
And it's on white bread. But we've come to find since then, we're pretty sure it's regional to that exact area that the song is based on.
I Googled it. It's not there. And then the other day we ran into somebody at a concert and they had actually heard of it.
They grew up eating it.
Yeah, they grew up eating it. And I'm like, where are you from? And they were like, from not far from me. You know?
Yeah, same area. So
it's like, this is very regional.
It's a little bit of incestuous, everything from the song to the to the recipe.
Oh,
yeah,
no. That's hilarious. And talk about the cookbook too. That's a swing. I mean, kind of like, cause I've watched you guys and your reels, and they're always educating and always humorous, and keeping the humor there.
Yeah.
But what's the purpose behind musicians putting out a cookbook?
So our hobby is definitely cooking. That's what we just do for fun. And of course it comes in handy too. So you just get to eat it. But we grew up with the CD liner notes and reading who played on all the tracks and the stories behind the songs, the lyrics, and we always liked reading those. And so now that everything's digital and nobody's buying CDs, you kind of lose those liner notes as well.
Okay.
And so we thought, well, let's write a cookbook and put all the liner notes in it. So that way it's like some people really love cooking like we do, and then other people just want they want the physical thing, but they don't really have a use for a CD, And so we thought, well, let's write how to cook the elephant in the room. And we paired a recipe with every track. It also started too with like in promoting the album, we were able to make 1-minute versions of us cooking a recipe that goes with each song. So after we put all those out, it was like, we need to put this into a book.
And as we're making the recipe, the song's playing on the reel, so it's
that's
how it started, the combination, and then eventually we're like, oh, we think that this could turn into a cookbook, and it's turned out to be a good item at the merch table, and it's a fun thing for folks to have because it pairs along. Because we tell stories behind the songs too. Because it's a full book, you can go even more in depth than the liner notes could previously. They have all the lyrics. We have everyone who played on the record. There's some fun illustrations for the recipes and things like that.
Yeah.
We're already planning for any next project. Like, we want to make sure we have another cookbook with that one. And
we keep on as he writes songs. I'm thinking, what food could I put with it?
Exactly.
Which is a fun experiment. But.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you guys have got some future projects coming down the line. Are you allowed to kind of give a little tease there?
Yeah.
We have no management, so go for it.
We're about to start kind of honing. We have a lot of content written. and we're about to start honing what the next album will be. And we've got a show coming up that we're going to actually just be playing through all those songs for a small audience. We're calling it All New Except Two, because you got to have 2 guaranteed good songs at the beginning and end of the night. If you don't start and end well, the show's terrible.
Exactly.
So
People never remember the middle.
yeah,
Exactly. That's right.
So we just kind of got to play through these songs in front of people to go, ooh, do they like them? Do these work? Do we need to change some parts? So we'll be doing that in a couple weeks here in Nashville. But I'm also working right now on a bluegrass record with a friend of mine named Caleb Christopher Edwards. Last year, I ended up just writing a bunch of bluegrass songs because that's kind of the first love on the guitar. And there's a cool tradition in the bluegrass scene of these duet albums of just 2 guys like, hey, let's just hang out like we're friends jamming. And so he's written some songs, I've written some songs, and he's a great mandolin player and guitar player as well, and wonderful singer. So we're really excited. That one will actually probably come out first. I'm hoping by the end of the year, but we'll see. Might be beginning of next when all is said and done. But hopefully, yeah, next year might be 2 albums from coming out of this house at least. Yeah.
Awesome. That's great.
And another cookbook.
That's exciting. Another cookbook.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Elephant in the Room Part 2. How to cook the elephant in the room Part 2.
that's true. That's true.
We've got a song about a bear
Okay.
that we're working on. So
there you go.
yeah.
It might be the how to cook the bear.
Right.
There you go.
Unbearable recipes.
We on accident, totally on accident. We have a lot of songs that feature some sort of animal. And so I joke we need to start selling animal crackers.
Yeah. Zach and Maggie Petting Zoo
Exactly.
show. Yeah.
Exactly.
So let's talk about, like you said, you're getting ready for a concert coming out, and pushing new material. So what do you all hope, like what do you want your audiences to, when they come, when they listen to the music, they see the video, what are you hoping that what kind of experience do you want them to have?
Yeah, I want them to have a fun time that they can actually laugh at. And then I want there's a lot of meaningful songs that I hope will draw them in, make people think, and maybe have a new question that they've never thought of, kind of thing. Just so kind of that, like, you can start with the laughter and then kind of draw into the meaningful kind of thing. So I want them to take that with them.
Yeah, that's kind of the overall concept for the show. It feels like is this the width and breadth you get when you speak to a good friend, where it starts with the fun and silly, but you end up in the meaningful, and in the end you feel full and satisfied and seen. And we're like, sometimes it can feel like a show is communication with an audience, like a conversation with the audience, even though it's pretty one-sided. But in that kind of conversation, we hope people can feel like, oh, this was a special moment. I laughed, I know my heart was warmed all at the same time. And it wasn't, this is a monolithic artist, because that's easy to sell, a monolithic emotion of, oh, I want to feel this way, I listen to this artist. I want to feel this way, I listen to this artist. But because we like really creative, wide-reaching ideas, we hope to build a relationship that's more akin to friendship than it is just a usable tool on an iPod. Nobody has iPods anymore, though. Shows my age.
Yeah.
I was listening to an iPod today downstairs, actually.
That's
Come to
true.
think of
That's
it.
true. You are.
Right, from like 2016. Yeah.
I was thinking, does that thing still work?
It still works.
It still works. I think I've got mine somewhere.
Yeah.
In the dust.
Right.
It is in the workshop, so not
Right.
Well, what about in terms of, like, what have been some of the challenges that you all have faced, and then the successes as well?
Yeah.
I mean, the rewards of that.
Yeah, I think learning to work together has been both a challenge and so worth it, because we had worked under other band leaders so much, and then whenever you do your own band, you have to learn to work together on stuff. So it's just different, because you can all of a sudden both have your own opinions, and it's all subjective because it's music. So it's kind of like, well, I like this, well, I don't, and so. But we learn which ways that we work better, and figuring out what sound we think sounds best. And I feel like because we kind of like push through that, you get a better end result, Yeah. And so.
Yeah, there's any creative venture, I feel like one of the biggest challenges is your own mindset and your own mental capacity, because creative kind of products, they don't leave your mind. Most of it lives in ideas. So it's hard, especially when you work from home like we do, if we're not on the road, it's hard to turn your brain off and go like, I'm allowed to not be thinking of whatever next song or workout thing I'm doing, or figuring out what to do next. So that can be a big one, is managing that mentality and that time. You know, we do have this dual life of running our own show. You know, we're really into essentially year 3 of this show, if you don't count the COVID years, which I don't. We didn't do anything. And then we also have this side of being side musicians and working for other artists. And they're very different careers. Running your own show is like starting a small business. I mean, it's you're investing time, money, creative ventures, all that kind of things. You're responsible for paying other people, all this stuff. The sideman thing is gig work. You do show up, punch your card, play the stuff, but it has its challenges. There's a lot of musicians in Nashville, and we're constantly, sometimes we all want the best for each other, but there's also gigs that, I'd love to play in that one, but the spot's not open. Like they have somebody playing for them already. So you're always dealing with a unique set of challenges there. One of them we talk about with people who are coming into the industry is like, you have to remember 80% of this job is just hanging out. It's just because think of travel.
Yeah, especially when it's on the road work. It's different for like in-town sessions, but like on the road touring kind of work.
And because that work, it's 6-7 hour drives every day for a hour-long show.
Usually 2 hours long.
Yeah, maybe 2 hours. Yeah, something like that. But it's that's a big chunk of time difference. So the way that you deal with people, the way you interact with folks, we all have preference. At some point, everybody needs a little bit of time alone from a group, and that's hard. Alone time is very valuable on the road, and learning to manage your expectation of it, your timing of like, I'm gonna sit here and be nice, and I don't need to blow off at this person just because I'm a little annoyed or I'm a little hungry. Voice your opinions, and managing those kind of interpersonal things with sometimes basically people you met the next day, the previous day, can be a unique challenge to being a musician. But if you can navigate it, it really is rewarding, because I meet everybody when they're off work, having a good time, looking to have a good time. So my world is rainbows and sunshine most days as far as the people I interact with. I'm not working customer service desk at baggage claim, which is the complete opposite. I've always felt of a musician. Everyone coming in is annoyed and tired.
I think there's a song there.
Yeah, because it
sounds like it's a good. Yeah. So you touched on something too earlier when you were talking about what in terms of those that are aspiring to get into the music industry. I think you touched a little bit on that. Go a little bit deeper with that in terms of. I think you mentioned working with other people. Yeah. That's going to be crucial. What are some other things that you could give people that are looking to get into this industry in Nashville or wherever they may be Austin, Texas too. Austin, very true. But wherever, what are some things that you guys would, in terms of some wisdom?
I would say you have to network for sure. So like make sure you're getting out of the house, going to concerts, meeting people. If you're in bluegrass jams are a fantastic way to meet other musicians. But so much of the time when I look back at a gig that I've gotten that's lasted for any length of time, I'll realize that happened because of meeting somebody like 2 years before then. And so it's like you look back and you think, oh wow, I didn't even know that meeting that person might lead to this gig. But that means that I can be freed up to go meet people this week, knowing that maybe it turns into a gig, maybe it doesn't, but you have to network, you have to be around. It's very relationship based, and people recommend people they know.
And usually, like, to add to that, networking with a true desire to have a friend.
For sure. I mean, that's one of the benefits, though, of what we do. Like, I feel like I'm friends with, people I might hire one week might be hiring me the next week. And so...
I've literally, we've passed checks back and forth, and we've all net zero.
Exactly.
Very often.
And so that kind of thing, I don't mean it with like a underhanded kind of mentality, but just more so like, these are your friends. Sometimes it leads to gigs, and sometimes it doesn't. But, go meet people. You have to do that.
Right. So. Yeah, because there can be sometimes a viewpoint of networking as this fakey, like, I'm meeting you so that I can.
Right.
And thankfully, at least in this town, people can see that from a mile away. And
right.
No, just show up and be nice and take true interest in people and what they're working on, because we get the opportunity to play music every day, and whether that show is in a catacomb and the Parliament building or whatnot, or it's a dinky little bar or club or something that you're playing at, the end of the day, it's the same notes. So do you want to play music, or are you looking for some validation of a picture you have in your brain? Those are two very different things. And I would say it's music. If you just want to play it, you want to play it, and it's great. And money and all those kind of things there's a necessity level, but then on top of that, it is what it is.
I just thought of that quote by that luthier. Let's see if I can get it right. It was talking about like dealing with ego in music, you know, and he was making a differentiation between, are you playing to, what was the wording, like, are you playing for yourself, but not that you don't play to enjoy it as well, but or are you playing to touch other people? Like, do you want the song to touch them? And so with that focus in mind, I thought that's kind of something you can apply like across the music business. Kind of like, am I playing to serve that need of that person, you know? And of course you don't always know what that is, but if you just have that in your mind as opposed to just let me play all the notes, you know, but the most tasteful one, you know.
Absolutely. So it's fun. The other thing for recommending musicians, it's sort of because I think it touches on that. We can misinterpret sometimes. I'm playing for the audience to be like, well, they just want to hear X, Y, Z. You know, they just want to hear songs they know. They just want to do this. I will always acquiesce to them for the chance of success, whatever that means. And allowing yourself to kind of flourish in whatever unique creative ideas you may have, 9 times out of 10 I find to be a more successful and more fulfilling route for a musician, because most audiences don't actually know what they want. They just react to what they hear. So give them the opportunity to find that balance of the familiar but new. You know, that's a hard intersection to find, but once you can, then that's where amazing things have happened, where you can go to new ventures. And people love seeing you have a passion for something, so go for it. Now, sometimes they can take that on the far extreme end of the other end of like, I hate the audience, and no one gets me as a creative. And it's like, well, you got to figure out how to communicate it. That's the challenge. But that's the whole idea, and why there's not this line of this is success. You can draw that line wherever, but it's arbitrary. At the end of the day, I get to create and make beautiful things for people to enjoy. And if I get to do that at all, that's fun, whether that's for my job or as a part of a job. And maybe it's music, maybe it's something else. But that dabbling in that work is a beautiful gift. So why not enjoy it while you have it and be content in it every day?
Yeah, and that's an important thing. I mean, like you just said, Zach, being content. Especially in this society that wants everything immediately.
Right.
I mean, and then again, too, you said, I think you touched on something, which if I could use a word to quote, successful business, it's on building relationships. Relationships. That goes a lot further than that just goes further.
Right.
So in terms of relationships too, like in terms of the music community, how's the community received you both in terms of that, and how do you engage to give back to the local community, since we're talking about the importance of relationships, networking? How is that?
So, I mean, I feel Nashville tends to be, the music community here is very business based, but that is most seen as it's kind of organized by genre. People in certain genres hang out with people of like genres. Now, these days, genres are more blended than ever before, but it's still the industry types do tend to like to create functions and events that are more genre specific. So being in the midst of one like our show can mean that, our show could fit in this folk kind of group, but right now it's our friends in the Christian side that have enjoyed our show, even though our show is not by definition a Christian music show. So that's an interesting one that we're still navigating, but it's also been really sweet. The reception we have had has been very positive. People love the show, and it just it's growing noticeably, but not fast. But that's okay. We like that because that means we're building relationships, as I mentioned. And then giving back. One of the things too is, I'm 34 this year. Been working 10 years. I've been finding some young guys that have come to town and trying to just encourage them as they're navigating some of those hiccups that happen where, I have this kind of goal, but maybe I haven't reached it, or it's showing up differently than I expected, and encouraging them that, hey, that's great. What are you working on now? I've got a little business club that meets about once a month of songwriters, because most songwriters need a little bit of help with our business, and so that way we can lean on each other. Hey, how are you doing this marketing side? How are you handling your copyrights and your publishing and these kind of deals? And I'm finding anything like that, we just organize people together, the community starts sprouting real fast. Those kind of things. And of course, we love working with different local charities when we can, playing music for some of those, and a variety of things.
That sounds exciting.
Yeah.
Exciting. Very exciting. So, where can people go to find you guys?
ZachandMaggie.com.
That's it. Zach with an H, because there's sometimes a Z-A-C-K or Z-A-C, as we like to say to be silly. It's Zach with an H and Maggie with an M.
Okay. Yeah. So Zach and Maggie, check out ZachandMaggie.com. And also, what about concert dates coming up?
August 9th.
August 9th will be that small house concert over in the Nations neighborhood.
A few tickets left.
Yeah, a few. It's not many, and probably half of them are already sold, so get them quick. They're at our website. And then September 14th, I think, our church, Village Chapel, over there on Hillsborough Road, their building is turning 100. So they're having their Fall Fest to celebrate its 100th birthday.
Great.
And we're going to play outside, and it'll be food trucks and free to come, the whole family kind of event. It'll be a good time. We'll have our whole band with us, which is rare. We usually play as a duo, acoustic duo. So, but I think we're going to have like drums and bass and possibly a piano player.
Oh, fantastic.
And that'll be fun in the afternoon on that September 14th date.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, guys, thank you for your time. Thank you for opening up your beautiful kitchen
Yeah.
area to host the podcast.
Thank you.
Any final thoughts?
I don't know. What's for dinner?
I'm sure it's going to be from the book, maybe.
Yeah, probably.
Possibly.
Have a good look in the room. All right.
Thank you, Rob.
Well, thank
Yeah,
you
thank you so
guys.
much.
Thank you so much for letting me do this with you guys. And until next time, guys, see you.
Bye.
Bye.